Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to a new video of Writing Wednesdays. Today we've got a brand new essay question from this month, so let's get started. Some people think the news has no connection to people's lives, so then it's a waste of time to read the news in a newspaper and watch television news programs. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So the first thing you need to do is, if you see an agree or disagree question, just, think, do I agree or do I disagree? You don't need to balance any viewpoints or do anything of that sort. Just pick a side and stick to it, yeah? A lot of people try and, I'm gonna partially agree or partially disagree. Don't do that. That's like the worst thing you could do, okay? So just pick a side, stick to it. These essay types are super direct and super, simple, for a lack of a better word. Right then, so I disagree. I think news do have a connection. I mean, everything you hear about in the news is going to impact your life. Maybe you're not in a war zone, but, uh, trade relations with that country could end up impacting you, right? So I think it's important. That's just my view. Maybe you have another view, and that's also perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about whether your views are acceptable. There's no right or wrong views, right? So don't worry about that. Right, so I agree. So I'm gonna have to first create my main idea sentences. So main idea sentence, and then my supporting content, another main idea sentence, and some more supporting content. Right. You need two reasons for why you agree, or, if you disagree, then why you disagree. I am gonna say I agree. Why? Well, anything that happens around the world has a direct impact on people's lives. Even if you don't live, like right now, there's a war in like 2-3 places around the world. It doesn't directly affect me. Well, not a direct, indirect impact. Has an impact. So instead of using the word direct, I can just use has an impact. Right? Because I might not be affected. Like my life isn't in danger. But some items like oil, gas, or maybe something else that you import from somewhere would become more expensive, for example, right? So it does impact your life. So it's important that you know what is going on around the world. And so it has a world's impact in people's lives. To be well prepared for the future, near and distant future, one must keep up with the news. Right? Because let's say, for example, when coronavirus broke out, I still remember October or September. No, it was October. Yeah, October 2019. Maybe it was September. I don't know. But anyway, I was reading an article on Facebook, and they had just reported that there was this mysterious virus and people were, getting sick and having to go to hospital. And, there was this one town that had a lot of issues. And then, it like had a, I don't know, 1%, 2% death rate or something. Back then I was like, yeah, this is probably just one of those minor things, no big deal. And then of course we all know what happened. So, but you need to be able to see that, right? Because there was a lot of panic back then, even in like October 2019, and they weren't reporting. They were saying that, okay, like 10,000 people got sick and like 10 people died or something like that. And I was like, well, that's just, like a 1% death rate. Now, not doing the exact math right now, but I'm just like telling you, oh, well, it's not like it's not like MSRA or something, which has like a very, very high mortality rate, right? It's just, mortality rate is just like 1, 2, maybe 3%. And I'm older people. So, to be able to prepare yourself, right? Oh, is this really, a bad thing? What's the likelihood of this affecting me? You need to know the news. You need to know what's happening. If you don't know what's happening, you're gonna be disadvantaged. I mean, I remember a couple years ago, there was some kind of protest I don't remember. It was some kind of shops act or something, and all the stores were shut like for a few days. You couldn't like buy stuff from like small stores, not the big ones, of course. And if I hadn't, watched the news, there's no way I would have known that. No way I would have, been able to prepare myself, right? So obviously, news has no connection. So yeah, no way. I mean, of course it does. So anything that happens around the world has an impact on people's lives. For example, war, for example, doesn't affect you directly, but can affect, imports, make things more expensive, or even spread of illness. That is something to keep in mind. Policies changing in one place, they affect the other, right? For example, let's say that I mean, there's so many things. The world is so interconnected. Oh, lots of examples that you could give here. Keep yourself updated. Know what's happening locally, right? And news isn't just like newspapers or TV. It's beyond that. But here the focus is a bit limited. So know what's happening locally to prepare yourself. National and international news. Long-term planning. Like, let's say, okay, there's gonna be an increase in some kind of tax or whatever. So okay, how am I gonna plan my investments for this year, next year, etc. So, and what else? Yeah, some developments, happen very quickly or are very important. For example, COVID, right? Every single, like, probably like every 10-15 minutes, we were all refreshing that there was this website. I forgot the name, World Counters or something. It had this, clock that was updated by the minute that okay, these many people have COVID and these many people died. And so you need to know the TV news, all these mechanisms. They were constantly telling people, now there's a vaccine, now you can go get it, okay, now you have to do this and that, and there's this mandate and that. So how are you going to know if you're not connected to the news, right? And here I need one more idea. War can affect imports. You may not be directly affected. Of course, your life isn't in danger, but it can impact other things. For example, sunflower right now, sunflower seeds, oil, palm oil as well. Probably a couple other things also. Policies changing can affect you. Things that happen around the world. What else? I've talked about policies. I've talked about war. Development in one country affect others, indirect plus indirect. There we go. Let's say, for example, one country has a trade deal with another country. That also means that that country is going to treat that other country more favorably. Maybe, give them like a longer loan or grant or something, and give less preferential treatment to other countries, which could mean, for example, that maybe the exports industry could be impacted. If you work in that industry, your job might be impacted. So it's like trickling down, right? Great, so I've got all my content. Now all I have to do is first I'll write an introduction. So the introduction, it's just a small paragraph. Don't write some huge, complicated thing. Keep it extremely simple. Right, so I'm talking about the news. I need to write something about the news, but don't copy. Don't copy. It's like such an irritating thing to see. Trust me. Every single person who, takes the exam, well, not every person, sorry, that's an exaggeration, but a lot of people, most people who take the exam, they write the essay, and they just do the same thing that like all these YouTube videos keep telling you. Oh, just copy the question, change a few words, add synonyms, and that's it. No. You think the examiners are stupid? Of course not. They see that and they know right away this person has zero interest in what they're doing. So please create a good impression of yourself. I mean, if you want to get a good score anyway. If you want to get, I will say this though, if your goal is to get a band 6 or something, or less than that, then you don't need to worry about all that stuff. Then you can just copy the question, change a few words, and that works. That's fine. You don't need to deal with all this. If you just need a band 6 or less than band 6, but if you need more than a 6.5 or a 7, etc., then you definitely need to bring something different to the table. You can't be doing what 95% of all test takers do and expect to get a better result. Not gonna happen. Right. So, right, news. What can I say about the news? People have always communicated. News is just, it's like, when you, for example, you talk to people who live around you, right, about things like, oh, did you know that the neighbor just moved out? Or, oh, did you know that that store shut down? That is news, right? Just because it's not published in a newspaper, or just because you don't have a TV anchor talking about it, doesn't mean it's not news, right? So, formal news like newspapers and news channels, these are just more complex, bigger versions of, the news that we share with each other. So people have always communicated, right? People have always communicated things of importance, or, well, I don't want to use the word things, it's kind of vague. People have always communicated with each other to keep themselves abreast of all developments within their neighborhood. Time immemorial. I have a new keyboard. Sometimes I forget the placement. People always communicated with each other to keep themselves, or try to avoid the word always. It's a bit, yeah, we avoid that. So people have since, yeah, time. Oh crap. What's up with my keyboard? It's being extremely weird. Okay. Communicated with each other to keep themselves for all developments within their neighborhood. Yeah. Formal news outlets are just a sophisticated version of this age-old practice. It is, doubtlessly important. I mean, there's no way that I could think otherwise. 2007 work communicating with each other to keep themselves for all developments within their neighborhood. Formal news outlets are just a sophisticated version of this age-old practice and desire for knowledge, right? We want to know. Some people call it gossip, which is also a part of the news. You want to know. People want to know what's happening, right? It is then entirely necessary for people to continue consuming news in any form that is most comfortable for them, to ensure that they do not miss out anything important. There we go, development. Right. So that's my introduction. You can pause the screen to have a look. And then we got our first idea. I'm gonna copy this. Anything that happens around the world, I can make it more like better, and I can say any event. Almost any event that happens around the world has an impact on people's lives. War. While it may be true that a war in another country may not directly impact the life of a person living elsewhere in terms of safety and well-being, It does have an indirect impact, such as when imports or exports from war-torn, and that in turn increases the prices of such goods, for example. Well, it may be true that a war in another country may not directly impact a person's, the life or the safety, or directly impact the safety of a person living elsewhere. I think I can, yeah, impact the safety of a person living elsewhere. It does have an indirect effect. This is much better because the sentence is getting to be too big, so I want to keep it simple. It does have an indirect effect, such as when import exports from the war-torn country reduce, and that in turn increases the prices of such goods, right? If you have to pay more for things, of course you have less money then, and that negatively impacts your quality of life. Similarly, when policies of other countries change, whether when internal or external policies, internal is domestic, so we can say domestic, when domestic or external policies of other countries change, also has this can also impact. Okay, this can also create changes in another country, such as when, I've already used such as. Let me use something else. No problem with that if you do it. I just want to show you a better example. Similarly, when domestic or external policies of other countries change, this can also create changes in another country. For example, trade agreements between countries can okay, well, this is going to be a very complicated example, so I'll give you a simpler example. For example, an increased emphasis on domestic production with increased import tariffs. Don't worry if you don't know what an import tariff is. You don't have to use the same example, right? I'm just writing about things based off my knowledge. An increased emphasis on domestic production with increased import tariffs can negatively, impact on other countries' exports, causing it can cause, of course, causing a trickle down again impact. Okay, never mind. I'll use something else. Causing a glut of products that in that market, because you can't, if the item is too expensive, then you cannot. If there's an import tariff, like let's say this item costs $100, and now there's an import tariff of 40%. Now this item costs 140 for people in that other country. So that's that could potentially decrease how much they can sell abroad, right? So they will have to sell it domestically, causing a glut of products in the domestic market. Well, I've already in that country's domestic market. Great. And the last one, developments in one country. I've already talked about policies. Okay. Then I want to talk about developments. Another concern would be I think the developments and policies are kind of similar in a way. Well, maybe a development could be, let's say, for example, social changes. Or a development doesn't have to be like a legal thing. A policy is a legal thing, of course. Policy is a political legal thing. A development can just be, yeah, for example, maybe, there was this, I can't remember the country's name, but they had like punishments for people who, would not dress appropriately. And so, well, that's, oh, well, that's a policy. That's not a okay. Maybe I'll change the idea. I mean, you can easily do that. Let me think of how I want to talk about social developments, right? So another concern would be new social developments or other changes, such as a change in people's, views of another country, which could, which lead to sour relationships. Decreasing trade and tourism, which would be which wouldn't be ideal, which would not be ideal for either country. That's good. And what else? Got okay. I'll just check the word count real quick. Oh, the text size is bigger. That's why it looks like this. That's what I was thinking all this time. Why does it look bigger? Because I don't think I'm writing a whole lot more. This, for example, is 66, okay, and this in total, that's that's 212 already, but that's normal for how I tend to write things. Okay, then we've got the next, I'll do it on this page. To be well prepared, so that's my main idea. I'm just gonna copy the main idea. Imagine if you didn't know anything. You would be so poorly prepared, to deal. I mean, there was recently some kind of news that the country was planning to not ban laptops, but just they were trying to increase some kind of fee or oh, you needed a license of some kind. And so, that was 2 months ago, and I was thinking, well, should I buy a new laptop right now or should I wait? Because then, well, obviously, if companies have to go apply for a license, do this and that, they're going to pass those costs on, right? So it was because of the news that I was able to figure out what I should do, what I shouldn't do. So that's another example of how the news, of course, is useful. You can plan, for the future, near and distant future. So one must keep up with the news. Let's see, the most important is by letting them know what is happening in their local area so that they can plan their days and weeks appropriately. Such as when there are strikes, or such as when there are local, celebrations, for example, or road closures, celebrations, festivals, right? Sometimes the road closures, bridges are closed, repair works, yeah, being undertaken. Yeah, such as when there are local road closures undertaken, to name a few. Right? So the most important way in which news can help people is by letting them know what is happening in their local area so that they can plan their days and weeks appropriately, such as when there are local celebrations, road closures, or repair works. Repair works being undertaken, to name a few. Normally we don't say works, but repair works is kind of a phrase that we do use. So it might seem a bit strange to you if you're not confident using repair works. You can just use another term. That's also fine. You can just use repair work. That is also fine. But people also use repair works. But just repair works. We don't just say works alone. Yeah. And what's the next one? International use. Okay, great. Additionally, updates from uh, country and around the world uh, can make longer term planning easier. And here I'm giving a lot of examples, I noticed, much more compared to, any other essay that I've written. I don't know why that happened. It just happened that way. Updates from the country, updates from one's, country, that would be much better. And around the world can make long-term planning easier because it helps people to know what what is being planned or put into place and think about how it would impact them and their families, right? For example, when you hear that, oh, the tax rate is going to go down, then you think, oh, that's great. I can save a bit more money. I can buy this thing that I was looking for. Or if, let's say they're going to build some kind of highway, and then you think, oh wow, that's great, so now I can use my car in like the next couple years instead of you going by train, bus, flight, whatever. So updates are easier, helps people know what's being planned or put in place, think of how it will impact them and their families. Perfect. And the last one, some developments I've used. Additionally, the most important way, transitions, you can use simpler transitions. That's okay. I'm just trying to kind of blend transitions a bit better so they seem a bit more natural, but you don't have to worry about that for a band 7 or 7.5. Um, um, some developments, on the other hand, can be more emergent and they develop quite quickly. But I've already used developments. Develop, that there sounds really very odd. So some developments, on the other hand, can be more emergent and can change rapidly within a few hours to a few days, such as the COVID-19 outbreak. So you have to use the right form. You can't just C capital OVID lowercase. That's casual. Right? Some developments, on the other hand, can be more emergent and can change rapidly within a few hours to a few days. There's the COVID-19 outbreak, which makes it all the more important for people to, keep themselves updated, the world around them. Oh, and one thing that I forgot over here, I need to have my final sentence. So thus, and my main idea says, any event that happens around the world has an impact on people's lives. Thus, in the modern world, it is nearly impossible for a person's life to not be touched by what happens in the world. Just earlier it was possible, but nowadays, of course, we have a lot of trade, a lot of relationships, so that's difficult. Hence, if well prepared to know what to do next. Hence, a lack of knowledge can be quite detrimental. There we go. And finally, I need a conclusion. So I start with keep it very simple. In conclusion, it is evident that news are important, more important now than ever, in fact. Because they help people, because because, well, news more important now than ever because people can know, or people can can only plan their lives and understand how they will be affected if they have access. If you don't know what's happening in the next country, how are you gonna be able to prepare in advance, right? And then if people avoid, right, avoid keeping themselves updated, to avoid rather reading or watching the news, they would only cause themselves much trouble. I mean, yeah, there we go. Great, let me just check the word count on this. Okay, right, that's that. Okay, that's 449. That's pretty standard for how I write. Right, so here's the first paragraph. That's the introduction on your screen. You can pause and you can take your time and read through it. Then we have the next paragraph. Again, you can pause the screen, take your time, read through it. And the next paragraph, paragraph number 2. And the conclusion right here. There we go. Great, so that was fun. If you have any feedback or anything you'd like to ask me, just drop a comment down below. If there's anything that wasn't really clear, again, you can just leave a comment down below, or you can even find me on Facebook and Instagram or my website. The link is right here somewhere in the description, or you can just go to our website. The name is right there. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, you can check out all the other cool content we have. There's lots of stuff for writing and speaking, so don't forget to check that out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!